Good morning. Welcome to the town hall meeting. It's our first one in 2023. My name is Brett Robinson. I'm the operations manager. And we use the town hall meetings to share church business information. We feel like this is the appropriate venue to do that. And I'll forewarn you that we'll probably take questions and answer time in the lobby afterwards, just so there's preparation for the choir and the 11 o'clock service that takes place. I wanted to share some of our key indicators. Those are our statistics that we track, and these are the year-to-date 2022 key indicator statistics. So our membership gain for the year was 18. That puts us at 653. Our baptisms, 14, and our attendance at 16%. That's up 16%. Now, diving into those attendance statistics a little bit, our in-person is up. If you were in 9 a.m., you could see where the 9 a.m. service specifically is trending in-person attendance up. But the live stream, we're starting to see some lag and lesser attendance on live stream. And if you remember, for live stream or virtual viewing, we are tracking that by computer views. So there's probably more and more people that are watching on live stream than what we're actually indicating because of the devices that we're tracking. Our children's average attendance is 14, and our youth weekly attendance is 12. That's year to date. Our children's home was at $32,000. Total mission giving at $335,000. Those are some of our other key ministries that we support up there. Obviously, there's more that's made up underneath the 335. I made a mistake on our last town hall meeting where I was talking about Crockpot Church. So we've actually changed that to dinner church. So beginning on Thursday, March 2nd, we're going to have a dinner church. There'll be more details on that. But I wanted to make sure I made that amendment. And then Financial Peace University starts in March. So just in general, there's just a lot more going on than last year and the year before and the year before. So we're excited because things just seem to keep going and getting better. Some other important updates is that Super Service coming up. And then we have our Holy Week activities starting on April 6th with Monday, Thursday. You can see Ash Wednesday services in there on February 22nd. Some guide team additions. We like to share our leadership additions at the beginning of each year. So January 1st, both Jim Fisher and Angie Giannini joined our guide team. Jim serves with growth groups, and I think he participates on the tech team. And Angie has children in our youth and children's ministry and is a local pediatrician. So that's all for me. I'm relatively short today. I'm going to share, or Mark's going to share some financial updates from the year end. And then we have a cold weather update. And then Scott will finish everything with our UMC updates.
Thank you. So January, we're going over the end of the year financials. If you see the slide there, the end of the year expenses, as mentioned before, we're talking about operational dollars, operational expenses. This is what it costs for the year 2022 to run the church on a day-to-day basis. Those expenses came in at just over $1 million, $1,076,000. Our revenue for the year came in at $1,289,272. So what that includes is, a little bit more context to that is that we have a surplus for the end of the year of $213,227. So it's a surplus of revenue over expenses. In the month of December, giving came in at $306,000. Our budget for the month of December was $130,000. Okay, so our goal, if you remember, Scott talked about the goal for the month being $150,000 of giving. Our actual total giving came in for the month of December at $306,000. Okay. The $306,000 included a one-time gift of $150,000 from one member of the church. So if we take into account our end of the year revenue for 2022, we were 19% above our revenue in 2021. So the total revenue 2022 represented 19% above 2021. If we remove the $150,000 one-time gift, we were still 9% above 2021 giving. Excuse me, budget revenue for the month of for 2022, the budgeted revenue was $1,101,375. So we came in at $1,289,272. That represents 14.5% better than our budgeted revenue for the year. 14.5% better in budget revenue. Other revenue that we do not include in our operational budget is there was a sale of parcel C, which was not expected. That came in at, that is a $255,000 of revenue, but we do not include that as part of our operational dollars because it was not being utilized to run the church. You'll see the 2023 budget revenue for the year coming up is going to be $1,179,275. That represents a 6.5% increase from 2022. So giving is going to have to go up along with that, obviously. One thing I didn't mention, the $255,000 from the Williams and Parcel C property, I did mention that's not included in our operational numbers, but those dollars are used for, it goes to our investment account, and a portion of that goes to mission giving. Next slide. Probably tough to read sitting there today, but I want to point out a couple of things. This is showing our giving for the last 3 years. And the one thing I want to point out is that it's very difficult to budget revenue on a month-to-month basis for the church because you see a lot of fluctuation. For example, one of our highest giving months this year was in May. We had $126,000 of giving in the month of May. That's typically one of our slowest months. And then obviously December is always our highest month in revenue giving. But I want to point out something that's very interesting on these two numbers. If you look at our May giving and you look at December giving of this year, $126,000 of giving in May, $306,000 of giving in December. That represents over 34% of our giving for the entire year in 2 months. So I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. It's not necessarily a good thing, but it goes to show that 2 months, a couple of months in the year can make a huge difference on our revenue for the year. That's all I have. Trevor, go weather shelter. Hey, Trevor, how you doing, man?
Getting there. Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Trevor Parrott. I'm a volunteer coordinator for the cold weather shelter. I think we've got a slide for this, actually. Before I get into kind of talking about that, I want to highlight that, to me, this represents when we go out there and execute our mission, which to create places and spaces for people to connect with God and each other through a life-changing relationship with Jesus Christ. If you go to our website, the mission giving page has got basically our investment thesis for the church about different areas that we think we can make an impact in the community. And I see the cold weather shelter as having components of all 7 areas. So I encourage you to give that a look. So every year that really I'm up here doing the talking, but it's my wife, Carrie, that really kind of makes the whole show run. So I definitely want to make sure she's acknowledged, as well as we have a very strong core crew of volunteers that I just kind of want to really underscore and highlight. It's because of you that we're able to do this. Every year that we have done it, we have been open exactly 10 nights. So far this winter, we've been open 5 nights. What we do with the cold weather shelter is when it gets below 40 Fahrenheit, we open the multi-purpose room over on the other side of the church, and Votran and Hum work together to bring us homeless members of our community where they can have a warm place to sleep overnight. We give them dinner and breakfast, as well as we've been just pleasantly overwhelmed with donations of things like baked goods, socks, underwear, clothing of all types, sweatpants, jeans, so on. So all of those things are very welcome, and they go to good use. This year and last year, actually, we were open over Christmas. So there were 3 days from Christmas Eve through the day after Christmas. And, I'll be the first to raise my hand and go, that's inconvenient when that happens. But, I kind of was teasing Scott a little bit. I was like, we cannot shut our doors on. There is no less Christian thing to do than to shove Mary and Joseph to the curb. For me, I definitely see that as a prime directive to make sure that if the conditions are right, we ought to do it. So as you can imagine, though, that is inconvenient. It's a volunteer strain. We're looking for people that are willing to do things like help us out on Christmas. And it's a binge. I'll say this ministry is a binge service activity. In other words, it only happens during the winter. But when it does, I was looking at this. It's actually over 1.5% of our service goal is related to 10 nights of cold weather shelter. So if you're a binge Netflixer, maybe this kind of fits in with you. That's kind of it in a short synopsis, but I definitely think this is something that we should be excited about. When COVID was at its height, we were the only organization that opened up for this, which sounds like woohoo, good for us. But honestly, I take a position of sadness with that. But I underscore that we have the opportunity to exercise leadership in our community. So when we say things like, put God first in your finances and invest in the kingdom, it's so that we can exhibit leadership, to be that lead investor in our community. So I really encourage you to don't look at our 14% growth and say that that's good enough. I think there are some very large problems that our town's up against that we can go after. Anything else? No? Thank you. Scott.
Thanks, Trevor. So, dude, pick on Trevor. I mean, it's a great job that he does on that, and he did tell me you can't close Christmas Day if, say, Jesus is born and Mary and Joseph are in the stable and we're making people sleep outside. And it is impressive that it's our church, First Methodist Church of Port Orange, and a church in DeLand are the only ones that are that are open. The rest are all like shelters and stuff, right? Like Hum, etc. So kudos to our church. All right, real quick, I'm here to update you on some denominational things as United Methodist Church in the denomination. So the number one thing to update you is we have a new bishop. Bishop Berlin, he was installed yesterday. Tom Berlin, he's from Northern Virginia. He became our bishop starting January 3rd. Full disclosure, he's exactly who I wanted to be our bishop. I met him a couple times before coming to Florida at some national events. And when jurisdiction took place, that's how we elect bishops. I was clear with people that we want Tom Berlin. That's who I want to come to Florida. And so far as he and I were talking, I've been thrilled with him in more ways than one. That's primarily because he's doing everything I want the conference to do. Actually, yesterday he and I were talking. I'm like, hey, I'm loving it, Bishop. You're doing all the right things. And he kind of smiled. I said, yeah, I agree with everything you're doing now. At some point, I'm not, and I'll let you know that as well. But super stoked about the direction he has us going in. One of the things that he is doing very aggressively is the United Methodist Church. You know, we talked about this for several years. There are folks that no longer want to be United Methodist, primarily over the LGBTQ full inclusion, meaning ordination and marriage. And so there's a process in the Methodist Church to disaffiliate. It's paragraph 2553. maybe paragraph 2335. It's some paragraph. It's a special paragraph, 2553, I think is what it is. That here's the process. And he is, one of the big differences between our old bishop and the new bishop is the old bishop was, no, we're going to slow it down. He's picked up the pace. He's like, hey, if you want to leave, let's move past this issue. If you want to leave the denomination and you follow the rules to leave the denomination, we're going to allow you to do that. And so there's a special called church, church, Florida Conference, Charge Conference, whatever it's called for the conference, annual conference, in April 22nd that we'll address there for any churches that want to disaffiliate. No one in our church has talked about that. I've been up front. I'm not going to disaffiliate. I'm United Methodist. I'm going to stay United Methodist. If anybody wants to talk about it, you can talk to our guide team folks or to me about that process to tell you how we're doing it. We're not going to vote. There's no need to take a vote. There's no need to do any of that kind of stuff. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing. I love what Bishop Berlin said yesterday in his I don't know what you call it, sermon, I guess, for his installation was, we need to love God. We need to love our neighbors. And that's the main thing. We're going to focus on that. I think we do a good job of that and keep those things the main thing. He had a great argument about we're too busy living on, Loveless Lane when we need to be on Lover's Lane. Kind of thing, really good thing on that. So thrilled with him on that. I do want, one of the other things you need to be aware of is our insurance is through the Florida Annual Conference. We're self-insured. Our insurance is going up 25% this year. Our property and casualty insurance, all that, 25%. That's about $20,000, right, Brett? So a $20,000 increase. Now, I just wanted, and people, I'm going to hear from people. See, the conference increased our insurance. See, the conference is increasing our apportionments. Actually, our apportionments will go up next year because we're starting the gathering place. And the more you grow, the more you pay. That's just the reality. Some things on apportionments. Our insurance is going up. People say, oh, it's because the conference is having to spread the wealth around because people are leaving. No. Our insurance is going up because of something called hurricanes. Hurricanes are causing our property insurance to increase. And what I want you to hear is this. The last 2 years, in 2021 and 2022, our property insurance went up by 25 to 30% over those 2 years as well. But the conference paid for that out of their reserves because the conference has investments that were doing really well in the market, and the conference just used that to pay those so local churches didn't have to incur the cost in 2021 and 2022. The market didn't do as well in 2022. So the conference is like, hey, we don't have the money this year really to spread the wealth around. And at some point, we do need to have the local churches step up. So I want to be clear on that. I think it's one of the benefits of being a denomination and connected is we have support like that. But that's kind of all the official stuff from within the denomination. So we're going to go out in the lobby. If you got questions, grab us in the lobby. Choir's got to practice. So thank you all for being here. Peace, love, all that good stuff. In the lobby, Brett will be glad to answer your questions.